Unajua bana anapigiwa debe, anapigiwa makofi, lakini leo ako kwa studio ya Fyah Mummah. So, and you know, listen, she's an amazing, phenomenal woman. One of the most important things is that she brought me a book of dreams and whatever. Nadia Abdalla. Let me first read nikusome tu in summary hapo nyuma vile kitabu inasema. In her own words, Of Dreams and Whatever is the poignant story, true story of a young woman's struggles to find herself before she becomes an essential part of the future of her country. Nadia A. Abdalla is the youngest presidential appointed chief administrative secretary in the Kenyan Government's Ministry of ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs. Now, sijui kama mmesikia hiyo story hapo, mmesikia hiyo introduction. She is the youngest presidential appointed chief administrative secretary in the Kenyan Government's Ministry of ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs. In this captivating autobiography, she details her life growing up in Mombasa. As a girl from a family that any reader can relate to, Nadia was always marching to the beat of her own drum and constantly striving to know more and be more. She details how she felt as a girl torn between her family's values and the Western ideology she was fed through the media and her overseas education. This compelling coming-of-age story also reveals how enlightening the feelings from her childhood could be, no matter how difficult it was and how others can find empowerment in their experiences. Nadia's recount of her youth in Mombasa and her search for the true meaning of what it means to be empowered are an honest look at the difficulties young girls facing growing up in modern society. Do face. Sijui kama mmesikia hiyo kizungu yote nimesoma hapo. I can't wait to get myself, busy with this book, and I look forward to reading and, experiencing Nadia's story. Welcome to my show.
Thank you very much.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Unatusikia?
Nawasikia.
Hapo sawa. Karibu tena sana dada.
Asante dada.
Wacha sasa nizungumze Kiswahili sanifu. Nijaribu. Unajua tuna kitengo hapa kinajulikana kama Kiswahili kitukuzwe.
Okay.
Lakini changu kidogo ni kama kilingia kitumbua.
Kitumbua kilingia mchanga.
Kitumbua kilingia mchanga, sawa. Yeah, I mean, lakini Sheng naelewa sana.
Tanipoteza. Oh my God. I have been trying to learn for the past 2 years.
Really?
Yes.
What words do you know in Sheng?
Rieng.
Oh gosh, Nadia. Oh my God. Rieng tu, mami. Nauko Kanairo. Inafaa tukupeleke crash course.
Maybe sijapiga character development ndio maana.
Wacha sasa nikwambie. Wale upiga na character development aongea Kisheng.
Okay.
Au ongea Kizungu. Watu wa character development ni watu wa Mercedes. Watu wa Rieng ni watu wa true.
Okay.
Watu wa Rieng ni watu wa loyal sana mami.
Okay.
Hawawezi ku break heart. Hawawezi kuchapa character development. Msichana mrembo kama wewe. Mimi nawatetea sababu ni watu wangu. Hawajai niangusha. Na sana mami mimi naona afadhali tukutafutie watu wa maeneo.
I think
kwa sababu umechoka. Najua, I know the struggle. Anyway, welcome to my show.
Thank you.
This is the youngest, Chief Administrative Secretary. Wacha kwanza nisome hiyo introduction tena. She's the youngest presidential appointed Chief Administrative Secretary in the Kenyan Government's Ministry of ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs. This is Miss Nadia Abdalla. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
How did you get to be the youngest appointed Chief Administrative Secretary?
I've been asking myself that question as well for the past 2 years, because it's now 2 years since I've been in government.
Okay.
But I really think it's what I loved to do, and kiherehere changu chaku always, when I see an opportunity, I have to put myself in front.
Right.
And using the internet in a good way.
Okay.
Because I was always working with the community. I was always vocal. And as you read from this, I mean, I grew up in a Swahili home, but I always had my own ways and means of doing things.
Right.
I didn't want culture and my surrounding to ever define me. I want to define myself.
You seem very liberal.
I am.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
My brother usually tells me I'm not. But I feel like I am to a certain extent, because there are some things I still hold very dearly.
Right.
But when it comes to things to do with leadership, women and representation, I feel like I am very and extremely liberal at that, because a lot of us women, and it doesn't matter whether they come from the coast or north or whatever, most of us are really marginalized.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about as your tribe or your culture. I'm talking about just being a woman and just being vocal and just being present.
As long as you're a woman with a voice.
You're just always like, too much. In fact, me wanaambia, please punguza kierere chako. It's too much. Yeah, so I think that's how I got the president's attention.
Okay.
And also, of course, God.
Yes.
Because he must have done something to get my name somewhere to be where I am today. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And that's really great to hear.
Yeah.
The fact that you even got the president's attention, that just goes to show that you've been doing and you've been putting in the work over the years.
Yeah.
And how was it growing up in Mombasa? What was your upbringing like?
Growing up in Mombasa, I would say it's, let me be nice. I would say it's nice. It's nice. However, I grew up, of course, my late mom's family, they were very poor.
Okay.
So I grew up in a family where we grew, and I experienced that, from them being like this to my aunties and grandmas and grandpas working hard to getting to where we are today. It was a very enlightening but a very struggling time because, Mombasa, we are very multicultural.
Yes.
And so being from a family that is so multiracial, is it? Multiracial?
Yes.
So multiracial.
Yes.
I found myself not fitting in every part.
You're always standing out.
I'm not enough to be a Swahili. I'm not enough to be an Arab. I'm not enough to be here. So I grew up having a lot of how do you say it? Cultural identity crisis.
Right.
A lot of that. And then being a girl,
yes,
I used to be very blunt. And that's not really acceptable to some extent.
Yes.
But, however, I also grew up with a stepfather who really empowered me with my education and with my play. So, you find like your late mom and your auntie, some of them are at home and they're not working. But then you have a dad who's raising you and he's like, you have to go for it, get educated and don't settle.
Yeah.
And so it was a mix and match, a pot of everything at once.
Yeah.
But then I got exposed when I went to uni. I studied in Malaysia and Berlin.
Okay.
And that exposed me to now another side of life.
Yes.
Where I was like, it's your right. Women have to do this. And in Germany as well.
Yeah.
You have to do this. So then, crash course, all at once. I came back and...
It gave you a different worldview.
It gave me a different worldview.
Right.
But it also made me understand that, we are the bits and pieces of where we come from and of the different struggles and of the different experiences. And that's who Nadia is today.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And it's just amazing to see, your experiences have shaped you.
Yes.
And they've contributed to where you are today and who you are.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting to, know that you're the youngest member of Kenya's cabinet.
Yeah.
And, are there challenges for you fitting in, considering that we don't get very young people in government who are appointed? But
yes and no. Yes, because, everyone looks at this young girl. I know the stereotype.
Yes, and especially now that you're young with a voice.
Yes.
Right.
And so at the beginning, I was trying so hard to fit in and to do things according to how things have always been done.
Yes, the status quo.
Yes.
Right.
But then I think I am so lucky to have a cabinet secretary who just let me be. I remember he sat me down and he told me, the president appointed you because you're young.
Yes.
So don't try to do things that have always been done.
Yes.
Do things according to what you feel.
Right.
And of course, as long as they're in line with the government protocols and everything.
Yeah.
And so that actually empowered me a lot because I don't have a cabinet secretary who's always on my case. It's more of he calls to find out if I'm okay.
Yeah.
And then also the president is okay with all the things that I'm doing. And so it made it so easy.
Yeah.
But of course, at the same time, it doesn't sit well with other people because everyone tries to wonder, like, this girl, what does she know? She's just 2 years experience in government. Why is she trying to do things differently?
Yeah.
So I just hush all those and I continue. As long as my bosses are happy, I move on.
And you do what you've been asked to do.
Yes.
And speaking of what you've been asked to do and what you were appointed to do, what is it exactly that a chief administrative secretary does?
So the simple term is I'm a deputy minister or assistant minister.
Assistant minister.
Yes. Imebadilishwa tu jina.
Okay.
And so what I do, I deputize the cabinet secretary.
Okay.
So I advise him in certain policies. If there are places that he cannot be able to be there, I'm there.
Right.
Maybe the president assigns us to some things because I'm young. So most of my assignments have been young people oriented because I'm helping the government to help the people understand what the government is doing.
Right.
And so we're in a ministry that is ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs. So it comes to ICT, there's the data protection, cybersecurity and all that stuff. Innovation, we're trying to promote innovative mechanisms to young people, not only technologically, but also on the ground, because not everyone has access to internet, and we know that.
True.
And then youth affairs, we try to create networks. So one big thing that I've learned in government is I've been given that platform. Now, how do I create an environment for young people to be better and to benefit. And so we work with developing partners, we work with existing programs, and we try to make it a better place. But then after all that, I realized I also have to do something for me. If I don't come back to government next year, what will people remember me for? And that's when I came up with the campaign, Kenyan Mimi, which is, I was lucky enough and I think blessed enough to have the president and the cabinet secretary launch it. And it's a campaign that, because I realized when I joined, I've been on the ground and now I'm in government. So I realized there's a broken telephone. A lot of people or young people don't understand what programs are there. So I decided, why not create a campaign, because that's the easiest way to reach to young people. And then segment it into different sections where young people understand. And so I came up with Kenyan Mimi, did the whole information tactic, came up with 54 ambassadors. So we have 54 ambassadors from all the counties. And they tried to help me, let's say, spread the gospel. But at the same time, they try to also help me with my research and development in terms of, they tell me what's going on in, I don't know, Kisii or what's going on in Kwale. And then I just try to curate it. Curate it into the young people's ways and means of doing things. And so,
Sawa. People think ukiwa gava bana, tunashukuliaga serious,
I'm just me.
What do you do? What do you do when you're chilling? Like, what do you do to chill?
Okay, first of all, I love binge watching movies and series. But I also have a fun side. I love going out with my friends, dancing.
You like to dance? Right. And the other day I was thinking, nowadays Nairobi doesn't really have like just dance places. Yeah, people don't dance anymore.
No, but there are certain places. I don't want to mention them.
Okay, but we won't come. We won't follow you.
But there are certain places where you can go and a Saturday night and just have dance. Fun and just dance and just go back home.
Okay, Sawa, you'll give me the names, Chinyamaji.
Yes, I will.
All right, and then I'll come. I'll definitely come through. Yeah, but it's it's interesting just to see how you've been able to fuse your job and your work and the community. And we were talking earlier on before we went for the break, you were talking about the Kenyan Mimi project. You came up with this project after joining cabinet. And this is because of your experiences and what you learned right after joining cabinet. Tell me more about, Kenyan Mimi.
So actually, Kenyan Mimi was just birthed in my office, I think 2 months into the job. And the reason I did that was because I had an anxiety attack in my office once. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to manage all this, cram everything that is there and put it together? Then I was like, you know what? As I've just been elevated. It's a bigger platform, but it's the same job description. So I was like, I need to come up with a way in which I can, work around it. And so I created the pillars like information and education, where I'm able to educate young people about the different information that is there in the government. And then there was the opportunity and innovation, where how do I teach young people to be innovative and create opportunities for themselves, just like how I did for myself through the internet. Then being a girl, I knew health and well-being was very important. Health in terms of sexual reproductive health, but well-being in terms of mental health. And I used to, or I still do champion mental health since 2016 until today. So I was like, now that I have a bigger platform, I need to now push that more. And then the last one was about values. I knew that at some point we needed to talk to young people about peace, love, and unifying one another. And so we had to channel a way in which we could do that. And so all this, I brought it together and I realized I needed my mini ambassadors who could help me, because truth be told, I can't be in 47 counties at the same time.
No, you can't.
But I can bring them together and be able to help them disseminate information. And so I was lucky enough to catch the attention of the UNFPA country rep, and we sat down together and we created a bigger version of Kenyan Mimi. And on December 7th, we launched it with the president together with UNFPA.
Wow.
And we've been championing it up until today. In fact, last year on December 13th, when I published this book, we now launched another campaign under Kenyan Mimi called Ndoto Halisi, which means your dreams are valid. And this is really targeting the marginalized girls and young women in Kenya. Because we realized they have no voice, they have no presence, and we needed to amplify that. And that's what I've been championing now, moving forward.
Kenyan Mimi na Ndoto Halisi.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really amazing, because I believe young girls also, they just need that one person who believes in them
Yeah.
and opportunities.
Yes.
And just that one opportunity can change their lives.
Kabisa.
And congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And speaking about the youth, we've been talking a lot, Tuku, off air.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, what's going on in the country and especially with the young people.
Yeah.
What do you feel about the state of the nation and the state of the youth today, especially now that we're going into an election year?
Yeah.
And the youth are very apolitical, and political tensions are, rising quite high.
Yeah.
There are a lot of young people who are saying they're not going to vote this year, and they're not interested in the political process because they kind of feel like both political divides and the people vying for all these seats are not true representatives of what the youth issues are.
Yeah. I mean, I do understand young people's, I would say, confusion. I don't want to say frustration. I think it's more of confusion because most of them have either voted or not, but still they see the same things happening. But I disagree with them when it comes to when they talk about they're not going to vote.
Yes.
Because here's my thing. Okay, you don't want to vote. Fine. Then when things don't go according to how you want it, please don't complain.
Yeah.
Because only complain if you're doing something. And yes, I understand maybe the political space doesn't have enough young people.
Yes.
But who's going to boost those numbers if it's not us? I do understand also there's a little bit of challenge. Like a lot of young people say either they don't have the funds to do it, they don't, maybe registering parties is expensive, or they don't have this or they don't have that. But we also have other ways. You can either do it independently, or you can support someone else who sees a vision that is similar to yours. Because at the end of the day, change doesn't happen in a fortnight.
No.
But at the same time, if we always run away from not doing something right, then who's going to solve the problem? I mean, I am where I am because I did what I did and caught the president's attention. So, I mean, come next year, whether I will or won't be in government, I'll still have made my mark and left something that someone else will come and do. Or at the same time, because of the work that I've done, it would validate why young people or more young people need to be in government.
Right.
Because to be honest, more young people need to be in government.
Very true.
More young people need to have a say. And more young people need to go for political spaces. Whether it is challenging or not, the fact that we are a mass, we should do it in a very, I would say, peaceful manner. And we should avoid being used to do negative things. And I was telling you, one thing that young people lack is being loyal to one another.
That's
They're not
true.
loyalists.
No.
Because as soon as someone comes and tells you, oh, I'll do this, this and that, you will actually go behind the back of the person that is actually trying to do better. So can we fix ourselves as well? What is your goal? You are frustrated with what is happening, so what do you want to do different? And if you want to have a say, go and vote. Even if your vote does not, if you feel like your vote doesn't count, but it's going to count when it comes to you sharing your opinion about a certain thing in a certain structure.
That's very true.
That's how I look at it.
You have to be the change you want to see.
Yes. And you have to actually work on it. We always say, be the change you want to see. Okay, but how do you do that? You actually have to put in the work.
And put up structures.
And
strategy.
And, maybe you're not going to be in government, but work with people like me or work with people like you or others.
Right.
Because change doesn't always have to go through government. You can do other things. I told you, we are 75% of the country.
Yes. We're majority.
Majority of us are under 35.
Right.
So the odds are in our favor.
I love what you said about, believing in yourself and going for it. And I think a lot of people have been operating on fear and in fear. Yeah, you actually feel like, okay, fine, I can buy, or I would want to take that step, but I now gopa. They fear. What would you tell them?
Fear is actually very, very normal. And if you are not doing the right thing, you won't be scared. So go with your gut.
Yeah.
And do the impossible. I mean, I didn't think I would be appointed at 29, but when I got the call, I didn't hesitate. I was like, yes, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And today, I'm here.
Yeah.
Now, do I fear come election time and maybe I won't be back in government? Yes, I do. But is that stopping me from working and doing what does? No, it's not, because I'm going to keep championing. I'm going to keep charting my way. So it's the same thing. You want to be seen. You want to be visible. Be part of it. Be part of what you believe in. You believe in a certain party, be part of it. You believe in a certain cause, be part of it. Now, is it going to bring any fruitful results back? you don't know.
Yeah.
But do you want to worry about that now?
No.
No. You want to do what you need to do and then worry about everything later, because that's life. And young people need to understand this. There's nothing definite in this life. Be it elections, be it school, be it love. There's nothing definite. You just have to do what you got to do.
Be it life itself.
Be it life.
Yeah, be it life. Yeah. And so I think, we're in a generation, that's very
rigid,
and also just looking for, we call it microwave and instant gratification, microwave results. Like, I want to do this now, I get results now. Yeah, I get, nisimame leo niseme, I'm championing for women's rights and tomorrow I'm president.
Yeah.
And I think what you said is, if you believe you want to be the change, you have to get into those spaces and, put strategies, structures, and it takes time.
It does.
Yeah, and most of us are not patient. Yeah, but anyway, speaking of patience, you wrote a book.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's you have to be hella patient to write a book.
That's ultimate patience.
That's ultimate patience in itself.
Yes.
Are you an avid reader?
Not per se,
Okay.
but I read things that interest me.
Okay.
And I'm really intrigued by human development, especially in the context of women.
Right.
And I say this because, one, I'm a woman myself. I'm a girl child. I'm an African girl. So growing up, I used to get these books, nursery rhymes, Jack and the Beanstalk, all these things.
Yes.
But I realized that there was no book about someone who looked like me or was on my continent and talking about things about young ladies and young girls.
Yes.
And so I was like, why not write about myself?
Right.
And, 3 years down the line, this is my second book. My first book was like a trial and error.
Yeah.
But this is my second book. And my second book is basically a mini memoir, I would call it. A progressive memoir.
Yes.
The reason I'm saying progressive, because I feel like I just started my career in my life. It's going to go on. And I talk about things like abuse.
Yes.
When I was in uni, I experienced physical abuse. Would a girl looking like me talk about that now openly? No. So I was like, I need to talk about it, because a lot of girls that have been abused, they never, ever talk about it openly. Then they let that fear, PTSD, stop them from achieving their dream.
Yes.
I talk about identity crisis. I come from a place where, if you're not light-skinned enough, or if you don't have straight hair,
Yes.
you're just not that pretty.
Yes. Yes.
And then I talk about high school and university. In high school, we all want to be these famous people, or we are complicated, or we face family issues. And do families ask us if we're okay with it? No. I come from, I would say, it was a broken family, and then my late mom got remarried. We grow up and our parents never ask us, are you okay? We just get caught up into their vibe and we're told, live with it.
Yeah.
So how does that affect us psychologically? So I talk about all these things. I talk about relationships. I talk about being a youth. I talk about being so it's literally a book. I'm like a sister talking to young girls and young ladies out there.
You're a big sister.
I'm a big sister.
Page 55 of the book of Dreams and Whatever by Nadia Abdalla, she talks about abuse. And let me read for you that page. And it says, it breaks my heart knowing that I had to have a chapter specifically on abuse, a 5-letter word that carried so much pain and dark memories for me and so many others who are reading this. Various forms of abuse are pervasive and common in the news headlines and tabloids. It saddens and sickens me. Do you know someone who's been abused? Have you experienced abuse? Do you think, let's not discuss this culture understands the immense damage around promoting silence? The first time I experienced physical abuse, I was in my early 20s, a stage where I believed I had my whole life in my palm. University, a stage when you just wanted to be friends with everyone, try everything, and live by your own rules until you find yourself and embrace the next phase of your life. Truth be told, I was naive in university, and I just wanted to fit in with everyone. I was very gullible, though with my own mind. I don't even know if that makes sense, but yeah, I always wanted to fit in, and this is something I wasted so much of my time doing. I mention it a lot because I want you to understand the value of being comfortable in your skin and doing what makes you feel good and confident about yourself. The sad thing about abuse is it doesn't come from strangers. It comes from those close to you. He was my good friend. We would have genuine conversations together, and I felt very safe around him. Suddenly, His conversations with me started changing, and it was more of him opening up about his feelings for me. At first, I was taken aback, but then it dawned on me, and I thought to myself, he's just trying his luck. I quickly made sure I killed the advances before leading him on. As a result, things went south. I remember very clearly telling him that nothing could happen between us other than friendship. In my mind, I was convinced that he understood that and respected it. Unfortunately, one day, as we were all hanging out in a group, he asked me if we could grab some food and come back to the group. I found that normal, nothing endangering. I mean, little did I know he had other things on his mind. Before we could even get to the shop, he grabbed my hand and pulled me close to him. I could feel his heavy breath right on my face, deep down. I was trembling, but I made sure not to show the fear on my face. I heard him say, "I love you. And though you say you don't want me, you have been teasing me." He was taller, and the strong grip of his palm on my wrist made me feel like a prisoner. A chill ran down my spine, an electric zap of sorts. I knew I was not safe. My body sensed danger. Indeed, I tried fighting and pushing him away from me. I failed, and the next thing I knew, I was on the floor, and my head hit the ground. "Nadia, today you're done," I said to myself. The next thing I knew, he was on top of me and pinned me down so tight. At that very moment, it felt as though my bones were cracking. My soul had left my body and I was numb. Couldn't speak, couldn't see, and my mouth was dry and my lips chapped. I tried fighting, but my body was giving up. The more I fought, the more he hurt me. My screams were futile because he covered my mouth. All that was going through my mind was, "Dear God, whatever he's about to do to me, I pray that he has a condom," because I knew he was done. I knew I was done. I couldn't save myself and nobody could hear me. I kept praying in my mind, hoping a miracle would sweep me out of this real-life nightmare, tears violently flowing down my cheeks. Still, he was ready to hurt me physically. The friend I once knew had turned into an animal because all he could say was, "I love you, and I know you love me too. Just let this be. Accept me."
Wow.
That's deep.
Yeah.
That's very, very deep.
Yeah.
And that's this is very it's very emotional. It's sad, and I share your pain, and I'm sorry about what happened to you. A greater number of girls, a greater percentage of women in this country have faced what you've gone through. We see it in the news, read it in the tabloids, but our voices must be heard.
Yeah.
And this chapter just goes to encourage young girls that of dreams and whatever abuse you've gone through, you still have a voice.
Definitely.
And your story is valid.
Yes.
Wow. How did you feel when you were writing this chapter?
Honestly, I took I think 6 months writing and editing this chapter because, number one, I'm a Muslim girl.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then I come from a community that is very, conservative.
Right.
And so I had to first be okay with knowing that there's some people in my community who would read it and look at me like she wanted that.
Yes, it was her fault.
It was her fault.
Yes.
What was she even doing with friends and eating out and all that?
Yeah.
But then I was like, you know what? I didn't get a chance to tell my late mom about what happened to me.
Yes.
And because I was scared she would break down.
Yes.
So I said, now I need to speak and tell people because I need to stop girls from being abused and keeping quiet about it and being shamed for it.
Yes.
Because, and I say it in the book, when you're abused, you're not a victim.
No.
You're a survivor.
Yes.
And that's because you survived it. Mm-hmm. And now from surviving, you have to live through it.
Yes.
And I remember very well after this incident, I had 3 months of post-traumatic stress disorder.
Right.
Every time I would see just a visual image of this guy, I would be so scared.
Right.
But then I stopped myself and I said, you know what, Nadia? You need to pave a way for yourself. And so I started blogging and I started talking to random women and helping them out. So that was a way of me going through therapy.
Right.
But every day when I read that chapter, And even my siblings and my family, I think even my aunt read it and she hasn't told me anything yet. But every time I read it, I'm like, I'm saving some girl.
Yes.
Or I'm telling a girl out there,
She's
it's
not
okay.
alone.
She's not alone.
Yeah.
And imagine, Jahmby, there are so many girls who've read this book and they email me or they text me and tell me, I've been through it.
Yeah.
You know,
so many.
But we are scared of talking about it. And I'm at this point, you know what? What are you scared about? And this is what I want to tell girls.
Yeah.
Don't be scared.
Yeah.
Talk about it, own your truth. Because if you don't own the fact that you went through something like that, it's going to stop you from achieving. And that's why my book is called Of Dreamers, whatever. Whatever is all the challenges, all the abuse, all the confusion that you go through.
Yeah.
And I also want to remove this ideology. People see me in this position or see me being vocal and feel like I just woke up one morning and
it happened.
Yeah, it happened.
Yeah.
But it's because of the scars, of the tears, of the grief, of the pain that made me who I am today.
Yeah.
So I didn't stick around and didn't hold that pain to myself. I changed that pain into empower.
Yeah.
And today I'm powerful. And I feel like, I believe my story is also powerful.
It is.
And when you're reading it, I was just like, wow, Nadia, you have guts.
Yes, you do.
Because I think I didn't think about it enough.
Yes.
Now you're reading it, I'm just like,
yes.
Okay, I'm proud of you, girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're proud of you.
Thank you.
And thank you for being that voice.
Thank you.
Because this takes a whole lot of strength to share. And it does take a whole lot of strength.
It does.
Yeah. And, thank you for giving young girls voices. Thank you for, being such an inspiration. And, young girls need more women like you.
Yeah.
Young girls need to see someone they can identify with and say, you know what, if she did it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that can stop me. Abuse in this country, we can't even begin to talk about it. It needs a whole year.
It does.
Yeah, of radio shows.
It does.
But for what you're doing and championing for the girl child and women and the youth, it's a blessing, and we pray that you continue. We pray that you continue with your work. And first of all, before we even continue, where can we get the book, by the way?
So you can, for now, I'm selling the book online, like on Instagram and stuff. We're working on getting it on, what are they called? Bookshops. Today we are also uploading it on Amazon. But you can just go to my Instagram page and there's instructions on how you can buy the book for now. However, I was fortunate enough to have certain sponsors who have bought my book in bulk.
Okay.
So what I'm actually doing right now is I'm giving out my books for free to young girls.
Wow.
So even if it's you know of a community library or of an organization, and you feel like my book could be read there, I'll just have some few copies, 10 to 15, and I'll give them out for free. That's what I've been doing, because I'm trying to use the approach of corporations buying my book and me giving out for free, because my story needs to be heard so that we can stop. We can just stop being scared.
Yes.
That's the basis. Let's just stop being scared.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You have such a beautiful story. Yeah, and I'm so glad that you came through. I feel like we've discussed everything from your upbringing to, politics to you being in government, and, your book, which shows another side of Nadia, not the chief administrative secretary, but this is now Nadia. Like Nadia tumechilnaye pale Mombasani pale tunakula biryani pilau,
I know.
Yeah, but can you cook a good biryani?
Hey, let me tell you, girl, I can throw it down in the kitchen.
You can? You need to invite me for lunch.
I need to.
You need to.
I love cooking.
Yeah.
It's a passion of mine, and it's my love language.
Oh, hey, Nadia, you're in love. A good one.
He's lucky. He's lucky.
Yo, listen, call me Ukinita. When you've thrown down me, I'm good at eating.
Yes.
In fact, the doctor told me I need to eat more. So, ukinithrow you down. Alafu vyombo nitaosha.
No problem.
But me osha vyombo nitaosha. Lakini hapo hivyo mazee, me I love some good food. Ni vile tu hapo kwa skills kidogo inaleta shida.
Tunaweza kufundisha juu sisi wasichana Kiswahili. We're good.
By the way, muhimu sana, mkuje tufanye exchange program. Waswahili na huku geto.